welcome back to the final segment in the video series on SSH, SFTP, and CRON. Um, Today we're going to talk about CRON, but in the prior two videos we did talk about SSH and using keys to automate logins. The second video talked about secure file transfer, including using batch files to facilitate hands-free file movement. And last, today we are going to talk about CRON to allow scheduling of these tasks on multiple computers. And just as a reminder, the goal here is to be able to demonstrate simultaneously basically transferring a file from a client computer to us, from our computer to a vendor computer, from the vendor back to us, and then from us back to the client. And in each of these cases, these are separate individual files. It's not the same file being passed back and forth, so we can actually schedule these things to occur at the same time. And so with that, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, here we are. If you saw the first two videos, you'll remember that we have three separate terminal sessions set up here. One to log on to our computer, another one here on the left to log on to the client computer, and a third one to log on to the vendor computer. They're color-coded just to make it a little easier to tell which computer we're looking at. So the concept here is we're going to use a utility called CRON, and that is a job scheduling utility primarily, or in the Linux environment. There are similar tools in the Windows environment. We're going to edit what's called a cron tab file where the instructions are saved with the details about when you want to run the tasks and what those tasks are. There's three examples at the top here. The format of the command is the minute and hour you want the thing to run, the day of the month of the year, and the day of the week that you might want it to run, and then followed by the name of the job. So in this first example, this would run at 6:15 a.m. on the first day of the month. The second entry here would run at 11:30 p.m. on the first day of the week, every week. And then the last example here would run at 3 p.m. on April 15th of every year, regardless of the day of the week. So if it fell on a Sunday or a Friday or a Tuesday, doesn't matter, it's going to run on April 15th. So those are just examples to show you how, in a relatively simple manner you can schedule things to run a lot of different ways. So we're going to get out of here for just 1 second, and if you recall, in our directory structure for each of these three computers we have an inbound and an outbound directory, and the inbound directories on all three of these computers are empty, and the outbound folders have one or two files to go to the other computers. If we look at the outbound directory on this computer, we'll see that this one has two files, one to go to the client and one to go to the vendor. Now the concept is here that we're going to schedule these to run automatically in the background, because remember, we've already worked out the details on exchanging SSH keys so that we don't have to manually type in a password when prompted. We've set up batch files for the SFTP jobs to use so that we don't have to type in the file transfer commands themselves. It's all contained within batch files. And now we're going to configure the cron jobs to actually execute those tasks using all those features at one time. And we're going to actually do that on all three computers. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to edit my cron tab file, which has the instructions for this computer, and I'm going to remove this pound sign, which indicates that it was a comment, and save this. And you'll notice that we're just saying run this every minute of every day of every week of every month. We're going to SFTP using the batch file option to this user at this IP address. Very straightforward. So we're going to save that, and we're going to do the same thing on this computer very quickly. Remove that comment, and we'll try to do the same thing on the vendor computer as well. And we may have missed that one by a few seconds, but what we'll do, because the clock time here, just as I was recording, went past the top of the minute. But let's go back over to the customer computer and see if there's anything now in the inbound directory, and there is. And the timestamp is 2041, which means that file just arrived. Just for laughs, I'm going to remove this just to show that it's really working. And I'm going to remove star.txt from here, and that folder is now empty. So we're going to look here on the on our computer, and there should be a file there to us that came in from the customer, and now we have one from the vendor because it just came in from the other computer. So to prove that's working again, I'm going to remove both of these files, and there's nothing there at the moment. And now on the vendor computer, on the inbound, in the inbound folder, there is a file here. We're going to remove that. Okay, so in the span of just a few seconds here, I've cleared out the inbound directories on all three of these computers, and in just a matter of seconds, we'll see that we have two files have just come in on our server, one from the client and one from the vendor. If I look back over here, I can see I've got one that went to the client from us, and if I look on the vendor's computer, I see that now they have one from us as well. So this is exactly what we wanted. It's working from all three computers simultaneously every minute, transferring these files. Probably not a realistic example, but you wouldn't ordinarily schedule jobs to run every minute in a production environment. You might do them like the example showed back here. You might do them at weekly intervals, daily, maybe multiple times a day, monthly, annually, whenever you need to. But it works. And now the process is completely hands-free. We can sign off from these terminal sessions, and these jobs will continue to run at 1 minute intervals as they're set up until they're stopped. So that pretty much wraps it up. We've talked about a lot of different topics in 3 videos: the SSH and key exchanges, SFTP using batch files, and now CRON job scheduling, which gives us pretty much full automation of certain tasks. So hope this was informative, and appreciate your time. Thanks.